Hi there guys, welcome back to the channel. I just thought I'd bring you along for the day today because I've just got off the plane from London to Bordeaux, and as you can see, some lovely sunny shiny skies. Got into a hire car and I'm now going to have lunch with one of our clients that's just come in from the UAE, and we're going to do some building work for him and just helping out on some construction and planning permissions. That's how it started off at least, and now we're actually going to be building some extensions and all kinds of other things. So I just thought you might like to come along for the day. So without any further ado, let's get in the car, let's go and join Ian for lunch first, and then let's go and check out the work that he wants doing. So Ian, here we are sat at your lovely house. Whereabouts are we? Tell me more about the region.
So we're about an hour east of Bordeaux, in Nouvelle-Aquitaine, near a Bastide town called Montségur.
Where we had a lovely lunch.
We did have a lovely lunch. It was very nice.
Very typically French, convivial, simple way of life. Yeah. And that's why you chose this region. How did you choose this place?
So we have to go all the way back to 2007 to the Rugby World Cup. So myself and my wife, we with a group of friends, we decided to do the Follow Island package, and we came for a week's tour. So we decided to drive down. There were about 10 of us, so we all drove down. We came via the Champagne region, and we ended up in an old watermill, about 15 minutes from Saint-Emilion. And that's what really started our love affair with France, and in particular this region. And at the time, you know, we went to various rugby games in Bordeaux. We looked around the region, we went on wine tours, and we just absolutely loved it. So in 2008, we moved to the United Arab Emirates, to Abu Dhabi, and my wife continued to look for property in and around the region, and then in about 2015 we decided it was time, and started looking for a house here.
Cool. I mean, I think the main thing for me that's of interest, we discussed this an awful lot, and it's really difficult for someone that doesn't know France to decide whereabouts in France. I mean, look at this beautiful area that we live in. That it's not too dissimilar from actually where I grew up in the southwest, but in a way quite different. We're closer to the Landes. I know that you live abroad, work abroad, and your kids are educated abroad, but you consider this as your home. Yeah. Do you want to tell us more about how that decision is made, how you describe that towards your kids?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, you know, you can buy in the UAE. It's more prevalent in Dubai. But we'd always made the decision to rent, but the outcome of that is that our kids, who were born in 2010 and 2013, had always lived in rented accommodation. So we decided they needed somewhere to call home. So we decided, we looked to the UK, as I said, in 2015, 2016 when we started looking, and we looked to France as well. We decided in the longer term we wanted to live in France once we retired, but obviously have that ability to return to the UK, and we just love this region. So
tell me more about that, because we're discussing it at lunchtime. The difficulties. What are the difficulties of choosing somewhere online?
Impossible. So I mean,
how did you do it?
So my wife, she shortlisted, I think it was 12 or 13 properties with various agents, and they went, they covered the entire region. So they went from northwest of Bordeaux, up in the Médoc, across, and then down to Saint-Emilion, and then across to Bergerac. So, you know, that's probably 75 to 100 kilometres. And I came out, a very good friend of mine who worked in the real estate industry in France, fluent French speaker, came with me, and I think that actually was absolutely critical in being able to narrow down and understand both the complexity of buying a house in France, but also the complexity moving forward as well.
Yeah. And you did all of this by yourself, so basically
We did at that time, yeah.
100%,
Yeah.
all by yourself. Found a place, got yourself a mortgage.
Yes, we did. So myself and James came in. We looked at
James, by the way.
Oh, big shout out to James. I'm sure he'll be watching this. So we went to see 12 properties over 2 days, and then on the final day we narrowed it down to 3, which, and then again, quite diverse.
In that instance, so for those that don't know James, he's a lovely chap who actually happens to work with, well, in the UAE these days, but worked in real estate, spoke fluent French,
yeah,
and he assisted you with the purchase.
Absolutely, and that's
finding the mortgage.
Yeah.
And that was really the key thing that made it possible.
Yeah, I think so. I think having that knowledge and understanding, and it helped later on as well when we had a few bumps in the mortgage process. So,
but tell me more about those bumps. Go on then.
So we then put the offer in on the property. It was accepted on obviously the house that we're currently in, which was, it was streets ahead of everything else we'd seen in retrospect.
So give us a flavour. What does a property like this? How many bedrooms? What kind of value? Back in the day.
Oh, back in the day, so 2016. It's sort of divided into 2 houses. So it's an old barn and then 3 farm workers' cottages. That's been converted into a main house with 5 bedrooms, living room, dining room, summer house, and a library as well. And then upstairs, the 5 bedrooms, and then the other part of the house is the maison de mi, which is 2 bedrooms, a living room, dining room, kitchen, completely separate from our house as well. So for guests to stay, it's perfect. And
so come on,
that was
the dollars.
It was on the market at 850,000.
Okay.
We got it for a little bit less.
How much? Go on, tell us.
No.
People want to know.
I think it's 10% discount would be a reasonable place to end up.
Okay.
But
was it French sellers? Was it?
No, it was an English chap who'd
bought it. That's fair to say to people that are looking at buying. Often, if you're buying from French sellers, you might get a little bit more of a discount. If you're buying from, generally speaking, people that are looking to move back to the UK, potentially, then there might be less of a margin of negotiation.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, Kevin had, he'd bought this place as a shell, and he'd put blood, sweat, and tears into developing it.
Restores it.
And he'd done it, and I saw what he'd spent to develop it, and he did it very, very
so you're
well.
Happy you got a fair price.
I'm very happy, and
so let's talk about the mortgage then, because we're jumping into things, but. Mortgage-wise, what does that look like? How challenging was that back in
2016? So we ended up going through a broker who was not based in the region, and we did have a few problems. We ended up with Bread as the bank. I think we ended up at about 2.6% fixed for 18 years. So we ended up with a very good deal on the mortgage. I know it's not quite the same now.
How did you put together, for people that are watching, like an international package, income, deposit? What did that look like? So
the deposit, due to issues that we had with the bank towards the end, ended up being about 35%. Initially, we were aiming for about 20%. But it ended up being higher at the very last minute, because unfortunately our mortgage broker within the bank went on maternity leave and unfortunately didn't hand over our mortgage to anybody. So
conditions changed.
The conditions did change at the very last minute. Fortunately, due to having my friend James available, we got a house valuation done by one of the large international firms, which then meant that we could get a mortgage due to issues that were which the bank had internally. But ultimately we managed to complete the house sale pretty much to time, maybe a couple of weeks delayed. So guys, again, I mean, without going into too much detail, Ian here will be more than happy, I'm sure, to share more information on the
process of purchasing and of getting a mortgage and potentially living in the southwest of France. But this is just a little bit of a flavour. We want to give you a bit of flavour of what we do here at French Connections. One of the great things that we can tell perhaps the world now on this video is how we guys got together. You started using French Connections, I think, nearly 5 years ago.
It was.
To import a vehicle from the UAE. And then since then, we've sort of carried on doing loads of things, planning permission. Today we're doing a quote on your building work that you want to do, thanks to the planning permission that we've been granted. So yeah, let's talk about that in a few secs. So yeah, you started using us, Ian, like the first time we contacted us was in 2020.
Yeah, it was just it was the summer of 2020, I think.
And you're looking to import a vehicle.
Yep.
Which is just out there.
It is. It's parked around the other side of the house.
And it was very important to you. It's the first vehicle that you purchased when you moved to UAE.
Yes. Yeah.
And my words were, don't bring it with you.
They were. And we gave that a damn good ignoring.
Yeah.
And actually, I think what we've seen throughout COVID is that it turned out to be a very good decision, because what it cost to import has been saved multiple times over based on what it would have cost to hire cars in France in summer and winter and whenever we've been out here.
Yeah. And I think the other bits there is that you probably, I think, would agree that we did business because I said to you not to do it, right?
Of course.
It was probably that the whole idea of being able to say, look, this is maybe not the best of ideas, but if you like the car, we'll make it happen. And it took over a year and a bit.
Yeah, I think with everything.
Store the vehicle, drive it.
Yep.
You know, there was all kinds of stuff that went with that.
Well, I think it took, I think we had the first discussion in the middle of August. I then deregistered it.
Just before Brexit.
Exactly, it was just before Brexit. So because the decision we took was to take it via the UK and then to export it from the UK.
Guys, that was a good idea.
Yeah.
Now, probably not so much.
Probably not so much now, but it took... so it left the UAE from Jebel Ali Port in late September 2020. 4 weeks later, it arrived into London. It took, I think, 6 weeks for it to be registered in the UK. And then your guy picked it up, brought it down to France. And then it took another 7 months because of the complexities of registration and testing that were needed by the French authorities. But I know we talked continually throughout that, and 100% it would not have been completed without your input and your knowledge of the processes and everything that was needed.
The main part is, look, let's talk about also what followed after that long-lasting relationships from the registration of the vehicle, but also then now recently planning and building work.
Yeah.
So we've been trying to get planning for over a year, right?
And not forgetting the 2CV, which you...
we bought a car for you.
You did buy a car for me, or more for my wife. Yeah. So beautiful 2CV, 1966, absolute classic. Which you sourced. You found it. You carried out all the procedures and then delivered it to the house. Pretty much 2 years ago. Absolute classic. So in terms of the planning permission, unfortunately the only thing missing at the house was a garage.
Yeah.
And we just assumed that the best place to put it would be in front of the house. So we went through the planning procedures, we did our own design, thinking, it can't really be that difficult. And then we had 2 or 3 rejections. We visited the Marie, and after a couple of visits, it became very apparent that the issue was that it wasn't connected to the house. So we started speaking again, Rich, and you engaged an architect who came up. We did the home visit, we spoke, we worked out what we wanted, and then he drew up some plans that he believed that would be in line with French planning laws and what was likely to get permission. We went through several cycles of rejection. He was persistent, and ultimately 2 years
Bulldog
later,
is a fair 2 years.
2 years.
2 years later, we got there.
We got there, and you know what? You know, we're now going to start the building works. We always, once it became clear what the regulations were, it was going to be. We knew it was going to be difficult, but I think again,
good example.
It's that ability to go, like with a car, like with everything else. It's that ability to understand what's required and to then
get that done.
Get that done. And I think ultimately it's something that we talk about a lot. It's about getting stuff done.
Yeah.
And that's what you guys do. Simple as that.
Thank you, Ian. I promise he hasn't been paid, although we are considering potentially bribing him on the swimming pool work that he wants us to do. But yeah, guys, again, this is just a lovely example. I'm so glad I could bring you along today on our journey to Bordeaux, or just outside Bordeaux, Montségur. Check it out on the map. And thank you so much, Ian, for your business and for your beers and also for the business over the years, but of course for the welcome and sharing all of your stories with our audience, which I'm sure they'll love to hear. Any questions, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you've enjoyed this video and like to see more like it, don't forget to obviously put some comments below. It helps us more than ever do more things like this, and we hope to see you all soon on the channel. So yeah, you started using us in, like, the first time we contacted us was in 2020.
20? Yeah, it was just
maybe?
it was the summer of 2020, I think.
And you're looking to import a vehicle,
Yep, yep.
which is just out there.
It is. It's parked around the other side of the house.
And it was very important to you. It's the first vehicle that you purchased when you moved to UAE.
Yes. Yeah.
And my words were, don't bring it with you.
They were. And we gave that a damn good ignoring.
Yeah.
And actually, I think what we've seen throughout COVID is that it turned out to be a very good decision, because what it cost to import has been saved multiple times over based on what it would have cost to hire cars in France in summer and winter and whenever we've been out here.